Well, good morning again, Viva Birdos. I am JP Hill, Jason Hill over at Viva Birdos, and this is another Saturday Singles podcast or video cast or video blog or whatever you want to call it. And we are here today with another AAA player down there in Memphis. I'm sure you've heard of him if you've read my writing over the last 6 to 9 months. Starting pitcher Connor Thomas. Connor, how's it going, man?
Man, it's going good. Living the life. This week we're in Nashville, so just hanging out, enjoying the life.
Yeah, and you pitched. We're recording this on Thursday morning. You pitched last night. How'd that outing go?
Yeah, it went pretty well. Had a little trouble in the first. I worked around a little bit of it though, and then my last inning in the fifth, also a little bit of trouble, but ended up going 5 strong innings, a couple runs, a few hits, and went pretty well.
Yeah. Well, I know that our readers at least will know you and know your stats. You've consistently been part of my writing. Keep bringing you up, hoping that you will one day get brought up. But I wanted to kind of get everyone a chance to get to know you, what you throw, the kind of pitcher you are. So let's just start with that. What are your pitches? What do you throw?
Yeah, I've got a 4-seam, a 2-seam, both fastballs, changeup, a slider, and then I've been working recently this season on a cutter. And it's kind of a similar pitch to the slider. They both do the same thing, but the cutter's more like side to side, and the slider is more like a slurvy, like curveball thing. So.
Yeah. So a 4-seamer and a 2-seamer, do you have a preference between those two, or do you just use them interchangeably?
I'll use a 2-seam. If I'm doing a fastball, a 2-seam is going to come 90% of the time.
Okay.
That's going to be like to the numbers, to the data people. I have pretty good numbers with that. I'll get close to like -20 horizontal break on that with like 4 or 5 vertical. So it's pretty much coming out of my hand, dropping off the table.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty much what my fastball will be. If I'm doing a fastball, that's going to be pitch, the 2-seam.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I'll do my 4-seam.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, keep going. Sorry.
Up in the zone. No, you're fine.
Yeah.
I'll do my 4-seam. The only reason I'll do my 4-seam is to work up in the zone to get them off the stuff down. Because a lot of hitters, with the way that I pitch, I work down a lot. And so my 4-seam is kind of the equalizer to get them off the stuff down. So if I'll do it for a strike up in the zone, they have to respect that. And so like it forces them to look at both planes and not just one.
Yeah.
So.
Velocity on the 2 pitches?
I'll say my 4-seam, I can touch 92 with it. Like I said, I don't do it very often. And then the 2-seam will be on a good day 90, but I'll sit 88, 89 with it.
Yeah.
So, and the 4-seam will be 90, 91.
Yeah.
So about 2 mile an hour difference.
Yeah. Yeah. Velocity has never really been your thing, but what is your thing is control. And I'll try to post at some point. Maybe I'll even do it in here. Some of your stats from Fangraphs. Your walk rates are extremely low, and your ground ball rates. Actually, we talk about this here in a second, but especially until this season, your ground ball rates are very high. What's your approach when you get on the mound? What are you trying to do?
First pitch, I'm trying to establish my 2-seam early, because I know that's a pitch that hitters are going to see and hopefully ground out early on. And then from there, just continue pounding it until I get to 2 strikes. And then if a hitter lets me get 2 strikes, I will try to put him away then.
Yeah.
But it's definitely early contact first. If you want to get out in 1-2 pitches, go ahead. But if I get like 1-2, 0-2 counts, I'm going to try to put you away then.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I mentioned low walk rates. I would also say, especially for your velocity, your K rates are relatively strong. What are you using to get swings and misses?
I would say the slider. The slider is the biggest swing and miss pitch. The 2-seam can be on good days, but I would say it's more of a contact pitch for me.
Yeah.
And then this year, I've actually that cutter that I talked about has actually come around and really started developing for me. And so I would say my 2 biggest swing and miss pitches would be the slider and the cutter.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the you mentioned the break. It sounds like you know that stuff. What's the break difference between that cutter and that slider?
So the slider is more vertical, which means like it's going more up and down.
Yeah.
And then the cutter is more horizontal.
Yeah.
So the difference between the 2 pitches is simply like, well, the cutter is like 87, 88, so it's pretty hard. And then the slider is like 82. So there's like a 5 mile an hour difference between the 2 of them. And the slider's more, like, I guess for layman's terms, more curveball-y.
Okay.
And then the cutter is more like a fast, like cut fastball, I would say.
Yeah. But different
And
planes
so
of action.
what the hitter sees is the same pitch.
Yeah.
No. What the hitter sees out of the hand is the same pitch, but different speeds and different movements.
Yeah.
Because it's got the same exact spin out of my hand.
Right.
So
yeah.
It's been something I'm really thankful I've kind of developed this year as a cutter.
So who taught you that? What was the impetus to that cutter getting going this year?
Yeah, so I left big league camp. As you know, I was one of the last few guys at big league camp. And they left there and they told me like, hey, like maybe just look into a cutter. It could be a real equalizer pitch for you, something that can be of use to you. And I said, okay, I'll play around with it. I went to Memphis, and for the first month, I just kind of played around with it. Had trouble finding a grip I could find consistency with. And then it's actually funny, Jason Isringhausen came down and like kind of showed me what he did for his cutter.
Yeah.
Okay. And he was like, man, like just grip it and throw it hard. Yeah. I know you're like it's maybe a tough pitch for you because everything is arm side. You do a good job with arm side. And this is a pitch that I have to throw like the other way. So it may be tough, but just try it out and stick with it. Here's a grip I use. And so I used that grip and stuck to it, and eventually found like I tweaked it a little bit, but the grip that he showed me was the grip that I ended up using. And I've now developed it to where I use it in games, and it's consistent doing the same thing every time, about 87, 88 miles an hour. Wow. And so like it wasn't until Izzy came down and showed me that it kind of clicked.
Yeah. So are you already locating that one for strikes?
Yeah, I did it last night pretty well.
Yeah.
It went from like a pitch that kind of like was sliderish out of hand to maybe sometimes I'll even get behind it and have the arm side, which is very bad, to now every time it comes out of my hand, I know where it's going. I know the spot it's going to be, and I can put it in the same spot just about every time.
Yeah.
So
that's fantastic. Yeah. I wanted to ask, and because this is something we've talked about quite a bit on our site, and it just seemed like you were just the perfect guy to talk about this. The difference between command and control. Now your walk rate extremely low, but you're still getting Ks. In your view, how would you define that concept of command and that concept of control? And do you distinguish between them at all?
Yeah, so I've got, I guess, two different definitions for those words. Control would be like when you throw your pitch, you know what it's going to do out of your hand. There's no question about it. When I throw my slider, it's gonna slide like I want it to every time. That's control. Command would be knowing where the ball is going to go according to the plate. Like I can throw my two seam to one side of the plate, just like I can throw my two seam to the other side of the plate. Like doing that with both pitches or all my pitches to both sides of the plate, that would be command. So having the same movement each time is control, and then having the same location each time is command.
Yeah.
For me personally.
So what do you think has been your key to being able to do that, to keep your walk rate so low while learning a new pitch, by the way? How are you able to replicate that whether it's your delivery, your arm slot, your whatever it is that keeps you so consistent in that?
So mostly it's my delivery. My delivery, if it's off even the slightest, I'll lose consistency in my movement and command. So really my focus each time I go out is doing the same thing each time in my delivery. And then I kind of pair that along with not thinking too much. So like if I bounce a slider, it's a terrible pitch. I don't think too much like, oh, were my mechanics messed up? No, I just simply might have released it too far out in front that time. Don't worry about it too much. And that's kind of like why I work so quick in games, is because it doesn't give me a whole lot of time to think about like in between each pitch. It's like, okay, I think it long enough to think about my next pitch, what I'm throwing, but I don't think long enough to like get into my head mechanically. And I feel like that's been a big key for me, is like most of the time my mechanics aren't messed up. There's not something wrong with my mechanics. It could have just been a bad timing that time. And so like next pitch, it'll be right back where I need it to be.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I would take it then that you're a fan of the new pitch clock down there in AAA?
Yeah, I was a big fan. My first outing with the pitch clock was in Charlotte, and I had those guys absolutely like befuddled. They didn't know what to do. I was working even quicker than I ever had before, and you could just tell they were sped up. And it was fun. Pitching was really fun that day.
Yeah.
But I'm absolutely a fan of it. I think the game is going the right way in that. I mean, our average game time has dropped a good hour already this year.
Yeah, and they've been snappy. The games have been snappy. They're just really moving along. Yeah. Okay. I've got
Yep,
a question
absolutely.
for you, a challenge question. And I don't know, how you're going to answer this or anything. I've never asked anyone this question, but one of the things that I've noticed from guys transitioning from AAA to the majors, which is something, frankly, we expect you to be doing at some point in the next, either sometime this season or next season. It seems like you're going to make it at some point. I've noticed that some guys down there in AAA, especially ones with lower velocity sinkers that are command control pitchers, they're not necessarily able to retain that low walk rate once they get to the majors. And I've always assumed it's because they either feel like they need to pick a little bit more or they actually have to pick a little bit more because staying in the middle of the plate gets bad results. So have you thought about that? How are you once you get here, how are you going to maintain that critically low walk rate while also getting ground balls and avoiding home runs?
Yeah, so that goes back to the hardest thing a pitcher can do in himself is trust his stuff. That's by far the hardest thing a pitcher can do.
Yeah.
And I feel like low velocity sinker ball guys, when they go up there, they have a tough time just trusting it still. I mean, it's just like, yeah, it's AAA to the majors, but we're facing some like prospects and major league talent down here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we're still getting those guys out. So yeah, when you go up there, you're going to start facing guys that you've seen on TV all your life. But at the same time, what's worked for you down in AAA is still going to translate to the big leagues. That's why they called you up. And so I believe that what I think about when I go up there is going to be trusting my stuff, trusting that I'm ready, and believing in my abilities. That's going to be the biggest thing for me. And I think as long as I do that and I don't get in my head about, oh, if I miss middle here, it's going to be bad. Well, then that's when I'm going to get into some trouble. But I think as long as I just do what the toughest thing a pitcher can do and trust himself, I think I'll be just fine.
Yeah, that's
I
great.
think every pitcher can, because that's why you got called up, right? Is the organization that you're playing in believes in your stuff. They believe in what you can do. It's just a matter of if you believe that. So as long as you believe that, then I believe every pitcher can be fine.
Yeah, that's great. Great answer. Okay, a couple fun ones for you. Evan interviewed Evan Mendoza a couple weeks ago. He said that chess has gotten really popular in your clubhouse. Are you a player?
Oh yeah, I'm a newbie like Evan. Me and there's been about like 10 guys I'd say that have picked up chess. It's all been a part of like Blake Parker, James Nail people.
Yeah.
And since James Nail has kind of has rejoined us this week, it has been like revamped. And it's a tough game, man. It's a mental battle, Like
yeah. So what's your opening move? Yeah, give us the breakdown. You're analytical. What's your opening move?
Yeah, my opening move is oh man, I don't know the squares yet, but I would say the pawn in front of the king, move him up 2 squares.
Okay.
And then from there, developing the bishop and the queen to kind of attack like a central spot on the board.
Yeah.
And there's a quick way, like if you're facing like a newbie, there's a quick way to get a checkmate by using your bishop and your queen. Yep. And so like I've been kind of like toying with that a little bit. So,
good.
Yeah. It's a cheeky way to get a checkmate, but sometimes you just fall for it. So
yeah. I've noticed you guys down there in Memphis, you've had a lot of turnover, a lot of promotions over the last, half a season or so. Yet you're still sitting right there behind Nashville, playing them this week. What has held you guys all together? How have you been able to stay so competitive despite so much turnover?
Man, I think this team has been the most. I say the most. I'm trying to think of the word. It's been the most fun team I've played on in professional baseball. The team just kind of gels together. There's a lot of guys that are not selfish. They're willing to do stuff for the team. We're trying to win ball games down here, where a lot of AAA is selfish, like trying to provide your individual stats to go to the big leagues. I feel like we don't have a lot of that down here. We're last year's team to this year's team, and it's been like a world of difference. We're all coming together as one unit, and I think that's been the biggest difference, is that we're together as a team, one unit, pushing for a goal. I mean, we all want to go to Las Vegas at the end of the year to play in that AAA championship out there. So I think we're all kind of having that goal and mentality into this as well.
Yeah,
I think that's been the biggest thing.
Great. Last question that I had for you. I know we've talked a little bit. It's been around the media and stuff about minor league housing. Now, your situation is a little bit more unique. But what have you seen as far as improvements and situations right now for minor leaguers?
Yeah. So you mentioned my situation is a little different. We talked earlier about I've been married for every season of baseball except for one, and I've had a kid for every season of professional baseball I played in. And so I could not take the housing that they provided for us at the time. And so my situation was always scrambling to find an apartment, scrambling to find something livable for my family and I, while also having to pay for that at the same time. Also worrying about travel and all that to get to my apartment every day. It was a real grind for a guy with a family to do all that. Now, the key there was doing all that and finding the apartment and everything while also paying for it. As a married guy, my entire paycheck was going to paying for my apartments where I was living at, Airbnbs, whatever it was. And so that was my first few years in pro ball. Now in my fourth year of pro ball, the living situation for this year has been provided for me from the Cardinals, and they are also paying for it for me to live there. And so way different. I can now keep in my entire paycheck and not have to worry about blowing it on living situations. And then also like making sure that I have that money for food, groceries and stuff for my apartment to live in. So it's been a world of difference this year for married guys. I know single guys or guys that aren't married, they are providing housing in a local apartment complex in Memphis. And it's all free, all completely free. And they're providing them everything they need, beds, furniture, the whole nine. And it's been like completely a 180 of what it was last year, dude. I've been really impressed with what the Cardinals have done. And right now, as long as it continues trending, we're trending in the right direction to kind of keep improving situations for minor leaguers. But I know it was a real grind when I first got in for guys to find places to live. So.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear. Great to hear. And Connor, thanks, man. Good luck in the second half. And I'm looking forward to seeing you soon. Hopefully we'll see you in St. Louis this year.
Yeah, man. I hope so too. That's what I'm working towards. So.
Yeah. Great. Well, everyone, have a very happy Saturday. I'm off to Blogger Day, so I will be at Bush talking to John Mazalek and bringing you content with Blake and maybe a couple other people this afternoon. So look for that next few days. But have a wonderful day. Thanks again, Connor, and everyone be blessed.
Thank you.